What the hell?
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 Hello, everybody, and welcome back to What the Hell Should I Watch? The weekly rundown of what we're watching, which may become what you're watching every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on stevestebbing.ca. Chloe is not with us this week, but she will be back next week for the final episode of 2025. We do have just one more, but I have something Christmassy to kick off this week, as well as Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson doing some Neil Diamond, and a few picks that I didn't get around to in the last couple of months, so I'm bringing them to this episode. So let's get started. Fresh for your eyeballs this week, and yes, we're kicking it off with a Christmas movie, What the Hell Should I Watch style. That's right, it's a horror film. This is Silent Night, Deadly Night. A child witnesses his parents' murder by a man in a Santa suit. Years later, as an adult, he dons a Santa costume himself and embarks on a violent quest for retribution against those responsible for the traumatic event from his childhood. Starring Rowan Campbell, Rudy Modine, David Lawrence Brown, David Tomlinson, and Mark Aitchison. Written and directed by Mike P. Nelson. So yes, Silent Night, Deadly Night, been remade. This comes from the same production company that did the Terrifier, at least Terrifier 2 and 3, and who released the Toxic Avenger into theaters, Cineverse. And it always gives me pause when it comes to it because I'm not a Terrifier guy whatsoever. But I enjoyed Toxic Avenger for the most part, so I went into this film with kind of that feeling. And I've seen the original Silent Night, Deadly Night and Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, which I own both of them on Blu-ray from Shout Factory. And so I'm fully equipped with the Garbage Day reference.
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
And all of that fun stuff from this movie. I know all about Billy. I know all about Ricky. But there's a lot more to this franchise than I honestly thought. And I'll get to that in a second. But really, I knew those two movies, and I knew that they remade it in 2012. But yeah, apparently there's a lot more to it. But Rowan Campbell, for me, known largely as Corey from the Halloween Ends, just a shoehorned character into a franchise that didn't need a new character in the final act and became kind of all about him. And I didn't want to hold that on the actor, but it was really frustrating to take that in. But seeing him get essentially filled like a bee's nest in the monkey was probably redemption enough. So I was ready for him to don a Santa suit and to start whacking people with an axe. And this movie it does have its gore to it. It is probably not as gory as I initially thought it was going to be, but there are some really great moments. But I think the surprise comes in the actual story, because this one is less a senseless serial killer movie and more a serial killer movie with purpose, because Rowan Campbell's character through this Santa suit is equipped with an ability to see evil in people, the naughtiness in people, and executes them for it, which is kind of like a neat vigilante type of thing to add to this film, kind of separating itself from the original. And I mean, you probably have already heard about this if you live a little bit online and know that there is a sequence where Billy hacks through an entire Christmas party of Nazis, which has apparently pissed off a lot of people on the right side, calling this movie woke and all of that stuff, because apparently you can't kill Nazis in movies anymore, which is just a really fucked up concept. But Ruby Modine is very solid in this film as well. It's B horror at its finest, filmed in Winnipeg in our great northern Canada. And it's an entertaining enough film that I thought was just going to be kind of a throwaway piece of shit, if I'm really being honest. But it ended up winning me over in the end, and has a few, I feel like there's a few nods to that Mike Nelson gives Frailty in this film. I don't know if it's intentional, but it feels like there's a couple points where those two kind of cross over a little bit. Let's get some nerdy bits about this film. Let me talk about the franchise first. Let's get that out of the way, because the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise is the first two films which came out in theaters. So I already talked about part 1 and then part 2. Part 3 is Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out. And Ricky in this movie is played by Bill Moseley, who is Chop Top in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, as well as he was Otis in the Rob Zombie Family Firefly movies. There's also 3 David Lynch actors in this film, which makes it very special in a certain kind of way, because anything Lynch related, I sink my claws into. Also, then it was followed by Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation, which had Clint Howard take over the Ricky role, which he would play in the next film after this as well. But this one goes down a witchcraft path. I'm not even sure. And then there's Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, which is the toy maker, which has Mickey Rooney as an insane toy maker. So obviously this series went quickly off the rails as soon as it went direct to video on 3, 4, and 5, and became one of those schlocky, weird things that you would see on the horror shelf when you were renting VHS back in the day. Because the years on it, if we're going 1 through 5, is 1984, 87, 89, 90, and 91. So between 84 and 91, all 5 films came out, which is just crazy to think. Also, I have to mention that Brian Usna directed part 4, the witchcraft one, and he's known for doing Society, which is a film that contains something called The Shunting, which I'm not even going to show a clip for that at all. It's just too messed up to even just rehash. And then again, the remake came out in 2012. There was no Billy or Ricky in that film. Instead, it was Santa Jim, and he was played by Donal Logue from Blade 1. Mike P. Nelson already did a remake because he remade Wrong Turn in 2021. Also, he did one of the 2 of the segments for a VHS 84. He did No Wake and Ambrosia for that anthology film. And the score for this one, I've talked about these guys just recently. Blitz Berlin did the score for this one. I just literally just talked about them because they did the score for Deathstalker. But their next film is a film called Ithaca, and it has Kevin Durant in it. So I'm in. But Silent Night, Deadly Night as a genre film, even with that title, you know what you're getting in for. It's ridiculous. It's B grade. It's a lot of spurty blood and carnage, just absolute carnage. And I think they pulled it off. So worth seeing, in my opinion. Moving on, this was a mystery movie that I checked out at Landmark. And honestly, it's probably not one that I would be super excited about, but I do really like the writer-director behind this one. And the stars are absolutely undeniable. I'm just not sure that I was a huge Neil Diamond guy before heading into the film. This is Song Sung Blue. Lightning and Thunder, a Milwaukee husband and wife Neil Diamond tribute act, experience soaring success and devastating heartbreak in their musical journey together. Starring Hugh Jackman, Kate Hudson, Michael Imperioli, Ella Anderson, Mustafa Shakir, Fisher Stevens, and Jim Belushi. Written and directed by Craig Brewer. Yes, Craig Brewer is a filmmaker I really do put trust in when it comes to making an entertaining film. Yes, he did do the remake of Footloose, which I contend is still a pretty solid film, but he did Black Snake Moan. He did Hustle and Flow, which was his debut. And more recently, he did My Name is Dolomite, which is a damn solid film that came out on Netflix. And I contend that the man knows how to make a really great film, especially when there's music involved. And I'm really not a big music movie guy, not a musical guy as at all, but Song Song Blue really won me over, and its performances that absolutely did the trick. Hugh Jackman is great. He has the charisma to play Lightning. This guy that has all the charisma in the world and just wants to entertain and just be on the stage giving his all, and then finds Claire, played by Kate Hudson, who becomes Thunder, as they become not a Neil Diamond impersonation but a Neil Diamond experience. And to watch these two play off each other is some really special stuff. But the film goes into depths that I had no idea it was going to go. And that's largely because I didn't watch the documentary that this film was based on, because this is a true story. It was a film of the same name that came out in 2008 that Craig Brewer bought the rights for at Sundance, and optioned the rights for at Sundance. And now we have this just bittersweet piece of ultimate fandom to Neil Diamond without really being a fan. They kind of carved their own niche with Neil Diamond's music. But I probably keep calling him Neil Young, and I don't mean to. It's not about Neil Young. This is Neil Diamond, who largely I really kind of knew Solitary Man, which isn't played in this film at all, and Sweet Caroline, which is obviously played in this film. But there's a lot of songs in this that I kind of picked up and would probably put into a playlist, because it's all really, really catchy stuff. And it just kind of leans into what a great songwriter Neil Diamond was. But for the music to provide the backbone for this love story is really, really well done. And even through some of the cheesier moments, I still saw the heart of it. And very unpredictable. And again, there's parts in this film, dramatically, performatively, and singing, that both Jackman and Kate Hudson are really, really impressive. And Kate Hudson is an actress that I wasn't really a huge fan of until more recently. And she does some really, really great work in this film. So I was very, very impressed by it. Let's move into some nerdy bits about this one. Rounding out the cast here, King Princess, a pop star, a really, really great pop star and producer, is Hugh Jackman's daughter in this film. And I had no idea that she was an actress as well. So it was really, I saw her pop up, and I was made a mental note in my head to check out who the actress was, and was surprised to find out it was King Princess. So that was really cool. The score for this one, Craig Brewer likes to keep a tight cast, so it's all people he's worked with before. So the score for this one was done by Scott Bomar, who previously did a film for Fleck and Bowden called Mississippi Grind with Ben Mendelsohn and Ryan Reynolds, which is a really, really solid little film, a gambling film that highly recommended. It's really good stuff. And it was shot by Amy Vincent, who is also person that was worked with Brewer multiple times, but going way back to the 90s and going to some cult stuff. She directed Jawbreaker with Rose McGowan, and I really, really liked that movie. It was a twisted little freak of a film that came out in the late 90s, And I think I even had it on VHS back then. So yeah, I was definitely into that film at the time. So yeah, going back for that one. But Song Sung Blue, I really say don't judge a film by the trailer and by the poster, because there's a lot more depth to this film than would be lent to that, at least that first trailer. I think the second trailer shows a little bit more strife in it. But I really dug this film and was surprised by it, to be honest, because I thought it was just going to be kind of fluffy, but it wasn't. There's some serious weight to this one. All right, let's move on to what you can stream right now. All right, so this one feels a little bit weird because I saw this movie in theaters back when it got released. I saw it in the night before a screening, before the actual release date. And it feels like I've been sitting on this one forever, because I kind of have. I've been sitting on this one since before VIF. But now I can finally bring it because it is easily streamable for everybody. This one comes from an interesting director and actor pairing. This one is Roofman. A charismatic criminal, while on the run from the police, hides in a hidden space of a toy store. There, he adopts a new identity and becomes involved with an employee, beginning a relationship as unlikely as it is risky. Starring Channing Tatum, Kristen Dunst, Lakeith Stanfield, Juno Temple, and Peter Dinklage. Written and directed by Derek Cianfrance. Available on Paramount Plus. Yeah, I think this is a good time for you to sign up for or introduce yourself to the Paramount Plus streaming, because there's a lot of cool stuff that's just landing on there right now. Roofman being one of the newer ones. Channing Tatum lost a bunch of weight to do this film, to play Jeffrey Manchester, just like the last film, this one's a true story as well, about a charismatic dude that is just really good at escaping and fitting into tight spaces and all that kind of stuff, who basically would rob places like McDonald's and stores like that by coming through the roof and robbing the place and leaving. And he escapes prison and ends up at this Toys R Us. And Channing Tatum does what he does best. He is just full of charisma, full of charm, and brings a really likable character right away. Even though Jeff's a criminal, but he is so damn likable. And this thing that he forms up with the ever effervescent Kristen Dunst is so fantastic. They have really good chemistry. I will say this is a Derek Cianfrance film, so there is the drama to it. There is the humanity to it. There is a little bit of that grit to it. And through that, it really hurts my heart and soul to see Kristen Dunst cry, because it looks so painful. It always comes off so harsh. So those hit me hard, but a really, really great pairing, because honestly, I don't see this kind of a slight comedy being in the wheelhouse of Derek Cianfrance, who has basically made films that have devastated or started arguments between couples. Looking at you, Blue Valentine. Sometimes it's a little rough, but I really had a good time, because this feels like a movie. This feels like it has some of that Place Beyond the Pines dust to it, but it still feels like a Hollywood film. Not glossy, but it still feels like a bigger production. So I really dug that. Peter Dinklage is an absolute dick in this movie, and Emery Cohen, it's such a line. It's such a line. You love him, you hate him, like Rebel Ridge. You feel sorry for him, like this film. He can play a spectrum of characters. It's very, very interesting when it comes to that actor, because I've enjoyed him for years. Let's get into some nerdy stuff on this one. Additional cast members that weren't brought up in that introduction. Tony Revolori from Spider-Man movies, as well as Grand Budapest Hotel. He is in this one in the beginning of the film. Melanie Diaz plays Channing Tatum's ex in this, and of course she's from Be Kind Rewind. Molly Price from Third Watch. Remember in the ER era, there was Third Watch. It was a killer freaking show from the same creator of ER. Great show. She's in this playing a cop again. How about that? Uzo Aduba and Ben Mendelsohn playing a pastor and his wife that take a shine to Jeffrey. Really, really great and very warm performances from them. And Jimmy O Yang in a little role as a car salesman. That's a funny moment in the film, and I love Jimmy. Jimmy is such a great presence. Ever since Silicon Valley, loved that guy. More nerdy stuff. The score for this one's done by a composer named Christopher Bear, who I've already talked about. He did the FX series Adults. And the film was shot by Andrzej Perek, who shot the aforementioned Blue Valentine for Cian France, as well as some really great and underrated films. Half Nelson, really great one with Ryan Gosling and Anthony Mackie. Dark Horse, which anytime there's a chance to talk about Todd Solondz, I'm going to talk about Todd Solondz. So that's a Todd Solondz film. Another weirdo entry in a weirdo career. And Cold Souls, Paul Giamatti playing himself in an odd duck of a film. I have it on DVD and I bought it almost sight unsound, and I was really, really happy that I obtained it. I don't even know if it got a repress, but it is definitely worth a look. In television, I did Scenes from a Marriage, the remake, the Bergman remake, with Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. Remember, that was the one they were so close and sensual on the red carpet, and I think Berlin or Cannes, maybe, I'm not sure. And of course, got to bring up the music videos. They did the music video for MGMT Electric Feel, which is classic, and the kids still love MGMT. Trust me. But I think Roofman is one of the more likable films this year. It didn't perform ecstatically at the box office, so this is probably its chance now that it's streaming to make some noise and get some word of mouth going for us. So you heard it here. Roofman is definitely worth your time, and I'm sure you'll be watching it and recommending it to people afterwards. Moving on, I brought this one up as a maybe a while back, but it never actually played in my area, and I had a chance to check it out. The Purge guy trying to do something new. This one's The Home. Follows Max, who realizes that the residents and caretakers in a retirement home he started working at hide sinister secrets. Starring Pete Davidson, John Glover, and Bruce Altman. Written and directed by James DeMonico. Available on Paramount Plus. There it is, Paramount Plus again. And bring in the genre films this time with a horror thriller with Pete Davidson. From James DeMonico. He's the guy that created The Purge, like the Purge movies. So I think the first three come from him, and then it's other directors from that point on. And the TV show, he didn't direct it at all. He just produced it. But this is him writing and directing again and trying to do something new. And what he decided is, hey, do you know what's scary? Old people. And in his movie, I guess that makes sense. But otherwise, in storytelling, this film is clunky, frenetic in its scope. Like, it feels like a half-assed, low-budget film in a lot of ways. And I will big time say that Pete Davidson doesn't feel like he put anything into this film. Like, his reaction to really disturbing and fucked up things is almost the same energy of finding a stain on his shirt. Like, it's not, there's no depth of character. I don't give a fuck about Max. And even with all the huge big reveals that happened in the third act, I didn't really care. The only thing that comes after it is a super violent and bloody capping of that third act, which, while visually and slightly viscerally entertaining, you don't care. There's no real depth to this film. There's nothing that really makes this film worth spiking on your radar at all. And it was even sad to see Smallville's Lionel Luthor, John Glover, or Gremlins 2, The New Batch is John Glover in this film. What was his name in that? Daniel something. Daniel Turner? Something like that. But he was basically the rich guy that owns the building in Gremlins 2. But to see John Glover in this was really cool. He gets to do some kind of operatic acting, but it's all with the script and a plot that is haphazard at best and just really doesn't work. Let's talk some nerdy stuff in this. Ethan Phillips, who played Neelix on Star Trek Voyager, he is one of the people at the seniors home, as well as Jessica Hecht, who plays Pete Davidson's mom in this one. Those were two other faces I recognized. The score for this one was done by Nathan Whitehead, who usually works with James DeMonaco on the things that he directs, but he also did the Key and Peele film Keanu. He did the score for that one, as well as on Netflix, Chicago Party Ant did the score for that animated show that I bet none of you even know existed. In the video game world, and I really wish Chloe was here for this one, but in the video game world, he did the score for Days Gone, which is a game that I've honestly picked up and put down so many times. I should really just buy it one of these days. It looks cool. It was shot by Anastas and Mikos, who shot a film that came out during the pandemic, a horror film that didn't make a lot of ripples, but as soon as it hit Disney Plus, it felt like everybody was making a think piece on this one. It was called The Empty Man. And it starred James Badge Dale. He shot that film and it was beautifully shot, like really well done. Much better than The Home ever looks. And I'm stressing that fact, ever. But he also shot for Milos Forman. He did Man on the Moon, which is the Andy Kaufman biopic starring Jim Carrey, and Death to Smoochie, one of the most maligned great dark comedies ever made. And I will fight to the death. This Death to Smoochie is such a great film, which makes it kind of ironic, but what a damn great film. And music video wise, I have to bring it. And this one is like classic. This is classic MTV, and we're going back decades now. But Mikos shot the video for Phil Collins' Another Day in Paradise. So that is going way back. And now you have that song stuck in your head. But it would be better that song stuck in your head than to endure The Home, which is just a sorry piece of horror that felt like it had potential. It just, everything was letting it down. I feel like the production, the direction, and the lead actor really let this one down. Now another one that was really me late getting into it, and Chloe has already reviewed this film on the as part of her butting in segment. So this is just kind of me putting a button on that review, but I finally got around to it. This is The Thursday Murder Club. 4 irrepressible retirees spend their time solving cold case murders for fun, but their casual sleuthing takes a thrilling turn when they find themselves with a real whodunit on their hands. Starring Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Ben Kingsley, and Celia Emery. Directed by Chris Columbus, available on Netflix. Yeah, I was surprised that this is a Chris Columbus film. I had no idea. I mean, Chris Columbus, as far as formative years in childhood, I mean, we're talking Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, going up through the decades, first 2 Harry Potter films. I mean, Chris Columbus is a guy that has made his mark on films. And now doing this Netflix film with a solid cast. I mean, Mirren and Brosnan are both really great. I always love Ben Kingsley, and Celia Emery is really solid. Plus the players around them. Naomi Ackie is in this one. Daniel Mays, Tom Ellis from Lucifer, Jonathan Pryce, David Tennant, and Richard E. Grant. I mean, all of those names are people that I love seeing on screen. And this film has its intrigue to it. It feels like a Knives Out light. Like, it doesn't feel as snappy or as interesting as like a Wake Up Dead Man or even a Glass Onion. I feel that this movie is relying on a lot of charm, on a lot of Hollywood gloss to succeed. And in that degree, it does succeed. It is an entertaining film, especially when it comes to a bigger budget Netflix film. I believe it sets out to make an interesting setup and possibly more films in the future. Like, if they do want to continue with a Thursday Murder Club, I think they do have the avenue to do it, especially because the cast really is that likable. And this one comes from Richard Osman, who has a lot to do with a show called Taskmaster that seems to be a hit with a lot of my friends. So interesting stuff. But at the base, they don't really make movies like this anymore. They don't make these 70s kind of feeling murder mysteries. And this one plays around with that, but in a modern way. So I did enjoy that aspect. Chloe talked a lot about this one, so I'm just going to make this one quick and get into some nerdy bits here. The book was adapted by Katie Brand, who wrote a movie called Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, with Daryl McCormick and Emma Thompson. That's a really, really solid film. But she also did the screenplay with Suzanne Heathcote, who's known for doing a lot of episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. Another reason why I wish Chloe was here, just for that connection there. The score for this one was done by a guy that I guarantee you've seen his name on movies so many times, especially when it comes to like Sam Mendes, for example, Thomas Newman, who notably, I'll just bring up a few from his storied career, but Skyfall, Wall-E, and 1917 are just 3 films out of his great filmography, as well as some television. Monster, the Ed Gein story, Angels in America for HBO, and Castle Rock, some Stephen King adaptation there. So that's pretty cool. And the film was shot by Don Burgess, who is also a legend in his own rights, working a lot with Robert Zemeckis and James Wan. On more of James Wan's non-horror, though he did do The Conjuring 2. But some notables on his, he did both of the modern day Muppets movies, The Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted, Spider-Man for Sam Raimi, which is king, The Book of Eli for the Hughes brothers with Denzel Washington, and for the girlies out there, 13 Going on 30, that adorable film with Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo. You remember Mark Ruffalo was in that film before you'd really know who Mark Ruffalo was. And again, this one is for Chloe too, because he shot Christmas with the Cranks. And that was a time again for me to burn Christmas with the Cranks. And now it doesn't mean anything because she's not here. But I'm a little disappointed, but we'll move on. But Thursday Night Murder Club, it's an entertaining film. It's during the holidays, it'd be a good film to throw on because it is kind of leaning on the PG-13 side. And I think a whole room full of people might enjoy that one. So check it out. Moving on to something for more the international palette, and you'll need some of that international palette streaming service to check it out. But this was one I checked a while back and really, really fell in love with it. And it's from a filmmaker that I'm not sure he can do any wrong at this point. He's 2 for 2, and I'm excited to see what comes next. But this film is called Evil Does Not Exist. Takumi and his daughter Hana live in Mizubiki village close to Tokyo. One day, the village inhabitants become aware of a plan to build a camping site near Takumi's house, offering residents a comfortable escape to nature. Starring Hitoshi Amika, Ryo Nishikawa, Ryuji Kosaka, and Ayaka Shibutani. Written and directed by Raisuke Hamaguchi. Available on the Criterion Channel. Yes, one of those rare ones where I'm like, you got to get the Criterion Channel, bitch. Because, yeah, if you want solid cinema and classic cinema, and some Godard and all that kind of stuff, you're going to have to get the Criterion Channel. And for another extent, you're going to have to get Mubi as well, because there's a lot of great stuff on Mubi. But Criterion Channel is aces, because I am just such a huge Criterion guy. And I feel like Evil Does Not Exist is going to eventually be a Criterion film. Drive My Car, Hamaguchi's first film, is already Criterion, so I can see this one following in its footsteps. And this one is more of like an absurd comedy, because it's really funny to see this corporate glamping company come in to a very tight village that's really like its own ecosystem, to try and bring this glamping thing, which would send all of that pollution downstream into this village, and using the argument that like a little pollution is okay, which is just weird. But not only that, to have this company, but the company is represented by two individuals that are sent into the town to try to kind of assimilate amongst the town and to deliver their message. And the two kind of like eventually kind of like end up falling in love with the little town, because what's not to love about it? It's absolutely beautiful, and the way of life is so quiet and so slow, and your lead actor is kind of like a tour guide of the area, so there's an authenticity to this film as well. And it's just kind of there's an irony and a satire to seeing how it all plays out, and how these corporations think that these villagers are dumb and are just going to bend to their will. That I think is the fascinating tone at the center of this film. It would make a great double pairing with No Other Choice, I think, as far as like corporate ideologies and satire in that sense. But it is just a beautifully done film, and I honestly can't say enough about it. I feel like I've held it close to the chest for a while, and I'm just releasing it because I think I saw it months ago now. But I highly recommend this one, especially if you're looking for something different. And again, I cannot recommend the Criterion Channel enough. It's just full of absolute beauties, and you could fall down a rabbit hole big time in there. Let's dig into a couple of series that you can stream now. One of them just ended its season run, but I'm just going to introduce it here because I want to bring it as a full spoiler territory, especially with Chloe, because I don't think she started it yet, but this is It, Welcome to Derry. In 1962, a couple with their son moved to Derry, Maine, just as a young boy disappears. With their arrival, very bad things begin to happen in the town. Starring Taylor Page, Jovan Adepo, James Remar, Stephen Ryder, Matilda Lawler, Amanda Christine, Clara Stack, Blake Cameron James, Arian S. Cartea, Miles Eckhart, Michael Kareem Fiddler, Jack Malloy Legault, Matilda Legault, Chris Chalk, Peter Outerbridge, Madeline Stowe, and Bill Skarsgård. Created by Jason Fuchs and Brad Caleb Kane. Available on Crave. So I was looking forward to this one a lot, not because I love Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I detest Chapter 2 to a very large degree, and I'm very angry still to this day with Andy Muschietti for this film and for The Flash as well, because fuck that film with a cat penis, because why not? But I just know that because I've read this book, I know that there is incredible story to be told in here, and I was really curious about what they were going to do with that. I was still very trepidatious because Andy Muschietti is kind of the executive producer behind all of this film, and kind of the lead of creative as well. So there were things that were keeping me from really going fanboy over this film. over the show, but episode 1 hooks you. The end of that episode is so crazy and so unpredictable and so wild that I was really, really in for the ride of all 8 episodes. I will say episode 3 almost completely lost me. I'm really looking forward to getting my vitriol out about my issues with episode 3, but I was pissed with that episode. Absolutely pissed. So look forward to that, I guess. But I'm getting Chloe has not started the series yet, as I know. But I'm going to get her on the train for this one, and we're going to give a full wrap up to this. The fact that we have kind of legacy Stephen King characters in this that are not part of the It story is very cool to me. And the proposed ideas for what's going to come in season 2 and season 3 are also very intriguing. But again, I will bring that in more of a wrapped up segment, that one that I'm going to hit later in this episode with another show that we're wrapping up. Yeah, that one. Moving on. This is some more true crime getting the adaptation on Disney Plus, but no, is not Ryan Murphy at the head of it. And I'm kind of grateful for that one. But this is another one of those news stories that I never really paid attention to, but I saw kind of in a peripheral. So I slightly know the story. This one's Murdaugh, Death in the Family. Follow Alex Murdaugh's stranger than fiction family drama, a tale based on Mandy Matney's hours of reporting, as well as exclusive insights from years spent on the case. Starring Jason Clarke, Patricia Arquette, Johnny Birchtold, Will Harrison, and Gerald McCraney. Created by Michael D. Fuller and Aaron Lee Carr. Available on Disney+. So yeah, this is rich Carolina family, and they're all lawyers, except for the kid who is just a wild flame out and definitely has some violent tendencies, leading into some very sticky situations for Alex Murdaugh to wade through, who is definitely not a squeaky clean individual himself. And this is just about corruption all through a family and cover up, leading to the murder of both the wife and the son. And Jason Clarke is I don't know what Jason Clarke is like in real life, but he always seems to play really, really unlikable dudes in TV and movies. And again, Alex Murdaugh is not a likable dude. You can see a simmering anger and sleaziness in his character immediately. And it makes you wonder what Patricia Arquette's character even saw in him, because I really like Patricia Arquette, but she always seems to be trapped between a rock and a hard place. And it's actually something that she plays really well. And really kind of the last time that I watched her besides Severance was in The Act, where she plays Gypsy Rose Blanchard's mom, and played a villain in that one. So that's this one is a little bit of a departure from that. But again, she's a murder victim in this one. But I'm enjoying it so far. Haven't quite finished it off, so I'll give my thoughts once I've cruised through all of this episode. But obviously, being a true story, it is just a limited 1 season story. All right, let's check out what I just added to the library. And it's another one that I wish Chloe was here, because she got this first one as well. And it's a cool one, because once she's done her 15 season watch through Supernatural, she can then pick up the complete series that she received and I received of this one, The Handmaid's Tale complete series. All 6 seasons of the hit Bravo series with Elizabeth Moss and Bradley Whitford and Ann Dowd, and just like a hell of a cast. And, we're rapidly moving our way towards being Gilead ourselves. So why not see a fictionalized take on getting there via the adaptation of a Margaret Atwood book, a proud Canadian book as well, that I think has been banned in a lot of the states as well, just adding to the whole irony and hypocrisy of the whole situation. But I'm super pumped to have it. I wish it was Blu-ray, but I'm accepting of the DVD, and it will replace some of the later seasons that I already have on DVD. So that's kind of cool. But this one is on 4K Blu-ray, and it is something that came out a few months back, and I'm just getting a chance to talk about it now. There's just been so much backlog. This is the 40th anniversary edition of Back to the Future. It is the full trilogy on 4K. One of the greatest trilogies ever made, even if 3 is kind of a dog. But I love Marty McFly, and I love Doc Brown, and I love these stories. I love the Zemeckis score. There is just so much to adore about these movies, and I'm so happy to now have them in my 4K collection. Not really much I can say about that, but Back to the Future. I'm just preaching to the choir at this point. All right, so before we close, I just wanted to put a cap on a series I just finished. It's right now that it's over, and it's time to sing the praises for one final time, because I finished What We Do in the Shadows. A look into the nightly lives of 4 vampires who have lived together on Staten Island for over a century. Starring Kevin Novak, Matt Berry, Natasha Dimitriou, Harvey Guillen, Mark Proksch, and Kristen Schaal. Created by Jermaine Clement. Available on Disney+. Yes, What We Do in the Shadows. The series that was birthed from a mockumentary film that is just chef's kiss good. Just watched it again recently for a podcast, and it's still so damn good. And this series brings a new approach to it, brings it to Staten Island, brings Matt Berry in, introduces me to Kevin Novak, Natasha Dimitriou, Mark Proksch, Harvey Guillen. I'd never seen any of these actors before, and now I can't wait to see what they do next, because this series doesn't have a dull episode. It is so well done. So many little things over the seasons that really got me. I mean, Colin Robinson alone, the energy vampire aspect, and his lore and his storyline, and little Colin and everything is so brilliantly well done. I have friends out there that have never seen this show before, but have seen the movie. And this is me. If you watch this is me imploring you. This is must-see television. It might be one of my favorite comedies in the 2000 era, because it is just so well written, and Jermaine Clement knows what he's doing. The Vampire Council, I'm giving it away here, but there's other franchise vampires that show up in this scene, and I'm just flabbergasted by certain things like that. And What We Do in the Shadows is, in my mind, one of those perfect shows, and I think even on a rewatch, I don't think it'll dull anymore. And Laszlo is king, just absolute king. Adore him forever. So I really wish Chloe was here for this one, for her thoughts on What We Do in the Shadows. Maybe I'll just pull them out of her in the future, because that would be really solid. But sad to see it end, but it ended on full steam, and you got to love it when a show does that. Alrighty, so that brings us to almost the end of this episode, because what are we going to talk about next week? Yes, next week, the last show of 2025. So it's going to be something a little bit different. One, I will give you the review for Avatar Fire and Ash, because if I'm going to sit in a theater for 3.5 hours, you goddamn right I'm going to tell you about it. But secondly, Chloe will be back, and we will go through our top 10 of 2025. What are the must-see films in our opinions? We'll give them to you next week. But that brings us to a close here. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Blue Sky at the Stevel Dead.
You can find me on Letterboxd at HoneyBunChloe.
You can also find all of the episodes for this show on stevestebbing.ca or go to the YouTube page and please like and subscribe. You can also find us on shiftheads.ca. You can hear me a few different places. First, on After the Credits with Marina, Bill, and Melissa. You can find those episodes at atcpod.ca. You can also hear me on Tremble, the Horror Podcast with Kurt and Taylor. You can find those episodes at 3angrynerds.com. And you can also hear me now on Kelowna's AM 1150 every Friday just after the 8:30 news break. And you can also hear me on Shane Hewitt and the Night Shift, Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Toronto's News Talk 1010, found on the iHeartRadio network. You can also get all of those episodes wherever you get your favorite podcast. And that does it for us. We've emptied out our list for this week. So until next week, bye-bye.